Hello again, everybody, and welcome to 4-Star Chicago Sports. This is the Northside Nine, and we are rocking a first-half review, the disaster in the Bronx last night. What can the Cubs do at the trade deadline? And, of course, an impromptu guest, Jacob Zanola's in the house right after this. Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the Northside Nine. And as I mentioned before the break, impromptu guest Jacob Zanola's in the house from at Chicago Cubs Insider or at Jacob Zanola. Was that correct, sir?
Yes, correct.
Correct. He's going to help us out, try and sift through some of this crap that's been happening because lefties are making it way too easy on the Cubs. But a couple of orders of business before we get in there. Let's all say rest in peace to one Lee Elia, who passed away on July 9th at his home in Odessa, Florida, at 87 years old, 1 week shy of his 88th birthday. And at the end of the program, we are going to honor him with that 3-minute and 10-minute 40 F-bomb rant that he threw out in 1983. On top of that, after the 68 pinch performance last night by Jordan Wicks, he was sent down. Brooks Kiesk was brought back up. And Craig Counsell did talk with Ian Happ and said a change will happen against lefties, as you see for the second day in a row. Nico Horner will lead off against lefties, I guess, for the foreseeable future. So, boys, how we doing today? Kyle, how you doing? Jacob, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm doing great. It's, gorgeous weather. We got Cubs, Yankees. You can't beat it. Two of the best, franchises in baseball, two of the most storied franchises squaring off in about 4 minutes.
Yeah, this is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. I hope it goes better today than it did yesterday. I was obviously at work last night, so I tried to watch as much of the game as I could. But I looked at the box score after work, and I'm like, man, if 3 of our 5 hits are from Birdie, Turner, and Bruin, that's not a good game for the Chicago.
Well, we are sitting here in the midst of 3 of the last 4 games were uncompetitive offensive showings, and lefty starters are beating down the Cubs. And I actually wanted to go in this morning, and I was going to look at some of these stats, but the setup man set me up with some lefty stats. And since May 3rd, and I really thank you, the setup man, Kyle, you are awesome. Since May 3rd, the Cubs tagged Quintana for 4 earned runs in Milwaukee. They faced 18 lefty starters since, 6 shutouts, 7 1-run performances, 2 2-run performances, 2 3 run performances. Boys, I don't know. I don't even know where to go with this right now because if you look at it as a whole, July's been a little bit of a rough month for the Cubs across the board, with the exception of Bush. Swanson seems to be hot, but we got a couple stats on that coming up as well. Jacob, let's start off with you, man. What's the remedy for these left-handers? Do you see one? Is it a trade? Because I don't think it's the minor league system.
No, I think it's probably the trade market, and I'm looking at Eugenio Suarez. Obviously, it would be really fun to hear Pat Hughes say his name on the radio 4 times a game for the rest of the season. But against lefties, he has a 107 WRC plus. He's actually been hitting righties better, but compared to how bad this team has been against the lefties, anything is positive. He has a 107 WRC plus against lefties this year. So he's someone you could look at the trade market, or you kind of just move the lineup around like Counsell did today. Ian Happ moving down and Nico Horner taking over the leadoff spot. Happ hasn't been horrid against lefties per se, although lefty starters have been a different story. But Nico Horner has been exceptional against lefties with a 154 WRC plus compared to Happ's 93 WRC plus. So it's things like that, just the reactionary moves. I don't think there's anybody really in the minor league system that I would trust to come up and kill lefties. Jonathan Long is a fantastic player, but not only do I think he'll probably be traded in about 2.5-3 weeks when the trade deadline comes around, but he's kind of a reverse splits guy. So whether you look at the trade market or whether you just bite the bullet deal with it and focus more on starting pitching, something's got to change. Because like you said, it's brutal, especially for the amount of righties that the Cubs have in this lineup. You would think normally lefties hit and righties, the hitter normally wins that matchup. It's the exact opposite for the Cubs so far this season.
Yeah, and on top of it, Kyle, because I know you were at work last night, but from I think it was the 4th inning to the top of the 8th, the Cubs had 15 batters retired by Rodon on 42 pitches. And it's just become, when you look at the beginning of the season, the competitive at-bats they were giving, they've just seemed to evaporate over the past 6 weeks of baseball. I mean, they're 22-18 in their last 40. They're playing barely 500 baseball with the Brewers are red hot. Kyle, what are your thoughts on this, man?
I agree with Jacob. You could add a guy like Suarez, but realistically, Sean, if this team wants to compete for World Series and compete against left-handers, they just have to get better. That's the only way. And it's not like we've never seen them do it before, because early on in the season, they were playing better against left-handed pitchers. They just have to get back to that point, because I don't think there is a fix-it-quick solution out there. I think the Craig Counsell has to continue to tweak this lineup, and if they want, they could add a guy like Suarez, and that's almost like 2 bonuses in one move, because then you move Matt Shaw back down, and obviously Matt Shaw's been struggling mightily, but to be honest, at this point in the season, Sean, if you look at the trade market, there is no fix-it-quick move that the Cubs can make. They just have to be better against left-handers.
Yeah, and it's not going to get easier today with Max Fried on the mound. And I'll be perfectly honest. And Jacob, let me get your impression or feeling on this. Do you feel like Max Fried should be pitching on the north side this year?
It's tough, especially with the injury history. Obviously, there was some interest there. I mean, the Cubs just scoured the whole free agent market this last winter, looking for anybody, not out of desperation, but more due diligence from Jed Hoyer. So I had wanted Max Fried, but the price seemed to get a little out of Jed Hoyer's range, especially for the other moves that they ended up making. So I'm not frustrated, but at the same time, you got to pay up for that really good starting pitching talent, and Fried has been nothing short of phenomenal this year. Without Skubal, he is one of the top Cy Young options in the American League.
Yeah. Cal?
Yeah, they should have been in the conversation, Sean, for sure. And I read your article, Jacob, about the Cubs off-season move plans before the season started, and I saw Max Fried was in there. He's the guy that certainly should have been part of the conversation. I mean, this is the Chicago Cubs. They're the 4th richest team in baseball, and sometimes we act like we're a minor league team or the Chicago White Sox. It's just not the case. The Cubs should be involved in every conversation for every major free agent. They have the money to do it. They just don't want to spend it. But yeah, here we are, one Justin Steele injury away from being in trouble, and the Cubs are in trouble, and they're going to have to go find a starting pitcher. To be honest with you, Sean, there's just nobody. If you go look at the available guys in the trade market right there, there's nobody available who is that Max Fried caliber guy. I don't really even see a guy who's number 1 in rotation right now, unless they're willing to part ways with half the farm system. But then it's like, right, how much of the future do you lobby in order to chase a World Series when you have to compete with teams like the Dodgers, the Phillies, even the Milwaukee Brewers are now in that conversation? It's just Jed Hoyer has some really, really tough decisions to make in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, and Jacob, I wanted to get your thoughts on this because I just read an article, I believe it was yesterday, that at this trade deadline, Hoyer's looking to do something more to extend or trade to add to the roster long term, because you remember after this season, there's no Kyle Tucker, there's no Ryan Presley, there's no Brazier, there's no Thielbar, there's no Brad Keller, there's no Chris Flexen, there's no Drew Pomerantz. The year after, there's no Ian Happ, there's no Suzuki, there's no Horner, there's no Tyon, there's no Boyd. I'm sitting here, and I want to run this by you and get your thoughts. And I don't know if this is even something that the Royals would consider, but I look at Chris Bubic as the guy that I kind of really want the Cubs. They need hitting. He's 27, going to be 28. You got a couple years of control. Maybe you can add on to that deal, extend his deal. They need hitting. We have hitting. Would Bubic be one of the guys you would consider Owen Casey in a deal for? If the Royals would even consider it.
Yeah, no, I 100% would. Like you said, he has 2 years left, or 1.5, I should say. Yeah. So compared to other guys, I don't want to say not as intriguing, but he only really has 1.3 seasons left under team control. And he's cheap, which is always something that Jed loves. But it's crazy. And you just mentioned it with all the guys that are going to be leaving the team over the next year and a half. And multiple of them will resign. The relievers, it seems like it's always like okay, hey, come back for one more year. That stuff happens. But either way, yes, I would consider trading Owen Casey for Chris Bubich. I would consider Owen Casey for almost any of these starting pitching guys that isn't a rental. I'm not trading him for a Zach Gallen. I'm not trading him for. There's several of these lower market guys like Merrill Kelly. I'm not trading him for Merrill Kelly. A lot of the other starting pitching options that could easily slot in as a 2, maybe a 1. The argument could be made for a 1, although Matthew Boyd is pitching out of his mind like an ace. But yeah, I think he's one of the guys. I also saw. I mean, the Royals have several starters you could consider, but he's probably the most intriguing, I would say. Seth Lugo has been getting lucky this year, which steers me in the opposite direction. But then again, my coworker at Cubs Insider, Blake, he said, but he's been doing well. And that's a fantastic point where he's doing well. Like, at some point, you got to just respect those stats. Nico Horner with a leadoff triple. There you go. That's what happens when you switch the lineup. That's what happens. But yeah, with Chris Bubich, I would be interested. It's whether the Royals would be interested in parting with him. But there's been dialogue with Seth Lugo and just the Royals. And that's what Jed's been aggressive for the last few weeks, already poking around the market. And dialogue is a tough word to use, especially around the trade deadline, because some people, when I say they've had dialogue, some people will think, oh my gosh, Jed Hoyer has been in Kansas City and has sat down for 8 hours discussing trades. It could just be a simple text of, hey, is he available? So whether they've had deep dialogue or not, there's been so many different trade pieces discussed already in-house and with other teams.
Yeah, would you consider a Casey or an Alcantara in a Mitch Keller Bednard trade? Or would that be too much?
No, that would not be too much. And I think Alcantara is more where I would lean, because I think that Casey's the better prospect, although Alcantara probably has a higher ceiling. In my opinion, I'm putting Casey over him trade value-wise. So I would do Alcantara. Yeah, Mitch Keller and Joe Ryan were the 2 starters that I really wanted to focus on, especially because Edward Cabrera did leave Friday's game injured with the Miami Marlins. And he said it wasn't bad. I have to think that'll steer the Cubs away. I'm good. And Sandy Alcantara, his price is way too high for the Cubs at this moment, and I doubt Peter Bendix lowers that. Mitch Keller has been fantastic, and he's somebody that sort of like Jameson Taillon. He's a quote-unquote rich person's Jameson Taillon. He's from Iowa, so has a connection to Colin Ray there, but he doesn't really walk anybody. He gets a lot of ground balls, and he's been spectacular with a 3.58 ERA, and I like to fixate on the expected stats. As much as a lot of people don't love that, his expected ERA is less than 0.3 runs higher, which means this is who he is. He hasn't been getting unlucky. He hasn't been getting lucky. He has a really good fastball run value in the 95th percentile, and he has 6 pitches in his repertoire: 4-seam, sweeper, slider, sinker, curve, and change, although the curve and change are only 8% and 7% used respectively. He's somebody that I would love, and as you mentioned with David Bednar, it's a fantastic name mention. He just won Reliever of the Month back in June. He's somebody that the Pirates probably should have traded about 1.5 years, 2 years ago at the top of his value. They didn't, and they have a chance to right that wrong now. So packaging them, or like I said, if the Cubs can get Joe Ryan, nobody in this farm system is untouchable if Joe Ryan is truly available.
And Joe Ryan, would you want to include a Willie Castro in that deal?
It's something I would consider. Because that's the great thing about being in this position, is there are several spots that we could use help in, but that we don't need. The Cubs don't need a third baseman, but it would help. So yeah, Willie Castro is somebody that you could throw in. Griffin Jacks. I mean, I have been pounding the table for a Joe Ryan Griffin Jacks for a solid year now. And so now it's finally coming around where it's like everybody's saying this. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, these guys, I've been saying this. Like, we should have gotten these guys when the value was lower. Twins wouldn't have traded him, but still, it makes me look smarter than I am, so I'll take it. But yeah, Griffin Jacks, Duran, I would be interested in, although I don't even want to think about what a Joe Ryan Duran trade piece would be. But yeah, I think that Joe Ryan or Mitch Keller, could you get both? I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Could you get both? because that's what I think you need. I think you need a top of the rotation arm, and then you need a middle of the rotation arm, top of the rotation in Joe Ryan, middle of the rotation in Mitch Keller, and then you could get a bullpen arm in there as well with Bednar. Nobody in this farm system is untouchable. Cade Horton is in the majors. Matt Shaw's in the majors. Nobody's untouchable.
If I threw a name out there and say he's untouchable, let me know what you think. Kyle, go ahead. Okay. You can say it for me.
Jefferson Rojas.
Yeah, he's somebody that I know a lot of Cubs guys are going to have trouble trading. I mean, look at that. It's just he's hitting home runs like crazy. He's been on a tear. That walk rate, that is an incredible walk rate, especially for somebody in high A. How he hasn't been promoted, I don't know, but I have to think that's coming up in the near future. He doesn't swing and miss a lot, as it says there, 81.1% contact rate.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm still not putting him as untouchable, but the people that get that, I'm not going to argue with you. I think that is a very fair assessment. I just think it would cost a lot. I think he's somebody that you may include in a Joe Ryan deal, but I think the Cubs would have trouble parting with him and another top prospect. But again, he's a prospect. He's not even 22. Like, he is a prospect. He is in high A. The amount of guys, and I'm 19, and so I haven't seen the big fall-offs of, I mean, you know, you could go on for hours of these prospects that were sure things that never touched AAA, that never touched the majors. Prospects are suspects. If you have a deal to get proven major league talent, no prospect should be untouchable. Now, I was said differently for the Matt Shaw and the Cade Horton, because these were dudes that had proved it, and it's like, okay, these are guys. Matt Shaw will be fine. He will be fine. He will figure it out. Nothing but good things have come out of the Cubs system about this guy and his work ethic. He will figure it out. And Cade Horton's been fantastic. I mean, better than I think I expected for his rookie year. But yeah, Jefferson Rojas, I would trade him. I think there are a lot of guys, if you did a poll on Cubs Twitter, especially like the Cubs, you know, prospect guys, that would be very hesitant. But if you were to tell me the Cubs didn't get Joe Ryan, why? Because we wouldn't trade Jefferson Rojas, I would flip out. Because Jefferson Rojas is great, but he's not proven. I mean, he's what, like 2021? He's in high A. Like, there's so many things that can go wrong. He is not facing this major league talent. The gap between AAA and the Major League Baseball is like we have never seen it before. I mean, it is a catastrophic gap. So I think it was there was some player that they were talking about. It was Kyle Raleigh on a podcast recently that they said, in the minor leagues, you were taught how to reach Major League Baseball. You were not taught how to stay in Major League Baseball. And I think that's a great way to put it. You're taught how to get over that hump, but you're not told how to stay up there and not come down, as we saw Matt Shaw do. And now he's struggling mightily again. And he's even a great example of, like, he's not a sure thing. I'll admit that. And he had more hype. He had the most hype of a Cubs prospect since Chris Bryant, maybe. I mean, I think that's a fair assumption. Bryant worked out. But, yeah, I get what you mean about Rojas, but I pull the trigger on it.
Part of my heart would shatter if he got traded.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's such a lovable guy, and an electric name. And like you and Kyle both, when I said that, you both grimaced like, oh, you guys want to keep him. That makes sense. So many Cubs guys love him. I mean, he's one of the highest rated prospects in baseball and in the Cubs farm system. And as he gets older and gets better naturally, he's going to keep progressing up those prospect lists. But if he's the guy they want, you give it to him. There is nobody that should be untouchable because he is a prospect.
Yeah, I guess I when you put it that way, I could feel that. Part of it is I've probably collected 100 of his baseball cards, and I would really appreciate him to shine on the Cubs.
I get that. I did that with Nick Madrigal. The amount of Nick Madrigal cards that I have right now that are just worthless. Him, Brennan Davis. Yeah, they are. I mean, all these Brennan Davis. Yeah, I had Davis. I have some Rojas cards. I have a Christian Hernandez card, and then obviously about 9 million Nico Horner cards at this rate. But yeah, and that's why prospects are fun, is because especially with this Cubs farm system and the draft that happens tomorrow, which is so exciting, is yes, if the Cubs trade Rojas, they'll find another. Dan Kantrovitz, who is in charge of scouting and drafting for the Cubs, is one of the smartest people in baseball. I'm amazed he's still with the Cubs. Like, he will get a general manager job if he wants it within the next year or so, I would think like this dude knows what he's doing, and you've seen the Cubs keep hitting these drafts out at the park. So that's the great thing about having a well-run organization. I said it. The Cubs are a well-run organization. Sue me. But is knowing if they trade Rojas, they'll find another. Like they have others in that farm system that are waiting to get that focus because everybody's focusing on Rojas. Once he's gone, they're like, who else? Oh, look at that guy. We haven't been talking about him enough.
How about a Christian Hernandez? I mean, he was the talk of the town forever, and I know Rojas has seemed to pass him, but I still like Christian Hernandez myself. So, Kyle, what do you think about Christian Hernandez in there, man?
I mean, I like Christian Hernandez. Rojas definitely seems to be a better prospect, but I mean, I do agree with Jacob to an extent. I mean, you can't, at some point, the Cubs have unfortunately drafted mostly position players. At some point, pitching wins World Series. It's like defense wins championships in the NFL. At some point, they have to add major league talent pitching. Right now, with the exception of maybe Jackson Wiggins, it's just not down there. There's just not much talent down there in terms of pitching. So at some point, the Cubs are going to have to get a pitcher from somewhere. If that means they're going to have to part ways with some of these prospects, then so be it. I mean, you don't have 58 players on a baseball field. They have 20 prospects down there. They already have 10 major leaguers up here, the guys that could stay on this roster for the next 3 years, be part of a championship run. At some point, somebody's got to go, right? Now, if I were the Cubs, I would do everything in my power to make sure that Jefferson Rojas does not land on one of those lists of names. But if he has to, in order for them to get an all-star caliber pitch here, then so be it. I mean, I agree with Jacob. You have to add pitching somewhere, and the Cubs haven't been able to do it in free agency. They're not willing to spend the money. So if they have to do it via trade, then that's going to have to be the way they do it. I mean, like I said, I would not want to be Jet Hoyer in the next 3 weeks because I feel like no matter what he does, guys, he's going to get scrutiny from half of the Cubs fan base. It's going to happen no matter what. Either it's going to be A, you didn't go all in and you didn't get enough, or B, you traded away our whole farm system for these 3 pitchers and we didn't win a World Series. But I mean, if the Cubs feel like it's within reach, you got to shoot your shot, man. The Cubs are not going to be in a World Series run every single year because they're just not the type of team going in the offseason to spend $700 million. It's just not the Chicago Cubs. It's never been them. People are talking about them paying Kyle Tucker upwards of $600 million in the offseason. The most they've ever paid anybody was Jason Hayward at 187, I think. I mean, that's a huge jump for the Cubs fan base to believe that they're going to pay this guy. I hope they do, but the Cubs might have to win a World Series kind of like the Royals did in 2015. You might just have to kind of piece this thing together, duct tape it together, and then bring up this farm system talent and hope that everything, all the ducks get in a row at the same time. Yeah, this is going to be all about timing for the Cubs World Series championship window. It's all about timing.
You mentioned Jackson Wiggins.
Yeah.
He's not untouchable either.
Ah.
I know. The prospect, anytime I talk with prospect guys, they're like, shut up. I'm like, no, nobody should be untouchable in this farm system. Although I'd argue he's the most untouchable.
Really?
I think the Cubs really like him. Like they really like him. And for good reason. He's been spectacular. He's sort of been the breakout player of the farm system this year. So again, I'm not saying I'm not okay with them saying we didn't get Joe Ryan because we wanted to keep Jackson Wiggins. If there's anybody that you're going to put up a fight and say, is there anybody else you want? We don't want to move him. It's probably Wiggins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. I don't think anybody in the farm system, especially like you said, they're prospects. They could all come up here and fail. But if you're going to talk about including guys like Jackson Wiggins or Jefferson Rojas in a trade, you better know what you're getting. You better get a damn good player back, a damn good player. I'm talking about one of the best players in baseball because if you look at the Cubs farm system, that's probably 2 of their top 5 prospects, and they have one of the better farm systems in baseball. So you're talking about 2 of the best prospects in all of baseball. You better get a proven all-star caliber pitcher in Chicago for the next few years, not a rental.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, Jacob. Do you know Joe Ryan's contract? Does he have a couple of years left on the deal, or is he a rental? Would he be a rental?
No, he has several years left. And also, I won't get into all of his stats, but I implore everybody watching to go look at his Baseball Savant, go look at his Fangraphs. I could talk about Joe Ryan for years. He's not a free agent until 2028, so he has 2.5 years left. Arbitration. But it's not going to be too expensive. This is a guy that is an ace. He is an ace. I had somebody say he's not an ace. He is an ace. He is one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's young. He's only 29, and he is not a free agent until his age 32 season. So you'll have him through the 2027 baseball season.
That would be amazing because I mean, even with
So cool.
I was gonna say, even with Justin Steele coming back, the elbow surgery. Look at the struggles that Sandy Alcantara is having right now. You never know how they're gonna bounce back after having reconstructive elbow surgery. So,
Yeah.
I hope Justin comes back because I love Justin Steele, dude. I love that guy so much. So I hope he's okay when he comes back. But I usually say with these elbow injuries, you got to give him a half a season to get back to form. So
Yeah.
he does start the season. You're looking maybe All-Star break for him to return to form. I hope not, but and as we get into these divisions, as we switch it up a little bit, the division race has obviously gotten very, very tight. The overall standings in the National League have gotten very, very tight. I mean, this is an awesome race. I wish the Brewers weren't there, but all in all, the Cubs right now stand, 3 wins versus 2 losses versus the Brewers, 4 wins versus 3 losses versus the Cardinals, 4 wins versus 2 losses versus the Reds. So via the tiebreaker, the Cubs technically right now still have a 2-game lead on the Brewers, even though it's 1. So the Brewers moving forward have to go 5-3 or better in the remaining head-to-head games versus the Cubs. The Cardinals would have to go 4-2. The Reds would have to go at least 5-2 against the Cubs. So even those division races getting a little tighter, I want to get your guys' thoughts because this means the Cubs, who have looked pretty decent against the NL Central, are going to have to tank in these last, 65 games after the All-Star break, 66, something like that. How do you feel? I want to know how you guys feel this division race is going to tighten up. And I know the front half of that Brewers rotation looks absolutely ridiculous right now. So how do you guys see this playing out?
Kyle, I'll let you go first, and then I'll yap about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, Sean. I'd be lying if I said here and told you that I'm not afraid of that Brewers rotation is scary. And if Woodruff ends up being as good as he's been for most of his career, then it's going to be tough to beat the Milwaukee Brewers. Like I said, I believe personally that pitching wins championships. If you're talking about Peralta, Mizrachi, and Woodruff, that's one of the best 3-man rotations in all of baseball. And if they go into playoffs, they're going to be a scary team. I don't think many teams are going to play them, but I mean, the Cubs just have to get better. They have to get better. They have, first of all, like I said, you guys, I don't believe there's anything out there that's going to fix their problems with left-handed pitching. I think the Cubs as a team as a whole have to get better. And then we saw them do it at the beginning of the season. So it's not like it's out of their own possibility. They know they're capable of doing it. They just have to do it. And on top of it, they have to add a starting pitcher. Now, listen, if the Cubs don't believe they're that close to a World Series, you don't have to go all in and trade your entire farm system away and go get like one of the best pitchers in baseball. Just go get somebody to kind of fill a spot in the rotation and see if maybe guys like Cade Horton by the end of the season are pitching better. See if Matthew Boyd continues to be consistent, because we know if you look at his career, he's been pretty inconsistent. He had a season with ERA sub 2, season with ERA sub 3, season with ERA over 5. He's dealt with injuries, but if the Cubs are going to win a World Series this year and they don't go all in and go add 4 or 5 players, they just kind of need everything to go right. It just has to be one of those seasons where everything goes right. But yeah, I mean, Sean, if you're talking about the Milwaukee Brewers and Cubs and head-to-head battle to win this division, right now, with the rosters on paper, the Cubs obviously have much better offense. But if that Brewers pitching stays healthy, it continues to pitch the way they're pitching, it's going to be a very, very close battle. And it sucks because going into the season, I think a lot of people were like, I think the Brewers are kind of going to fall off a little bit. Yeah, here they are. They bring up this Mizrachi guy that most people have never heard of, unless you're a huge baseball fan and you follow the prospect list. But this guy is just an absolute flamethrower. He makes an all-star game after 5 starts in Major League Baseball. He looks like he's going to be a dominant pitcher in baseball for a long time. I don't know, man. I feel like no matter what the Cubs do or the Brewers do, it just turns out right. No matter what they do, it turns out right.
Seems to be that way. What are your thoughts, Jacob?
Yeah, Mizrachi's scary. And there is 0 reason he should have made the All-Star game.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
He's good. He's going to be really good. And the Brewers scare me purely because of it's the devil magic. Like, you look at Andrew Vaughn, who was one of the worst players in White Sox history, and all of a sudden he has like 2 home runs. He's become prime Barry Bonds. And the Brewers are a well-run organization. Not even well-run. They are a very well-run. They're one of the best-run organizations in baseball. So you can never count them out. The Cardinals don't really scare me. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up like selling at the deadline or moving around some pieces, because you might as well. because I don't think they have a chance against Cubs or Brewers in this division. And while the Cubs will make the playoffs, I'm pretty confident in that. Just the offense is too good. The Brewers are scary. They really are, and they've gotten hot. So I don't think this is who they are the whole season. But as you mentioned, Kyle, starting pitching wins championships. They have their pitching staff's incredible. So they're definitely someone that I'm starting to get a little worried about as we get into mid-July.
Yeah, it's like it sucks because as a Cubs fan, you're like, oh man, Corbin Burns is gone, thank God, and they're like, oh, don't worry, we got a guy sitting here waiting, he'll replace him, and will be the exact same two we were last year. It's just like they no matter who they bring up, they're absolutely amazing. Like you said, like you look at Andrew Vaughn, I'm not a White Sox hater. I watch the White Sox from time to time, but this guy was absolutely terrible. They kept telling everybody he's going to be amazing, he's going to be great, he's going to be awesome. They get rid of him. The Brewers pick him up. Here he is hitting home runs like it's going out of style. It's just that's who the Brewers are. And like you said, they're just a very well-run organization. I think people thought once Craig Counsell left that team, they would kind of fall off a little bit. But it just seems like it's like the next man up mentality. And to be honest with you, it seems like it's just kind of a Wisconsin sports thing, right? Because whether we like to admit it or not, guys, the Green Bay Packers are one of the best-run organizations in all of sports as well.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that Andrew Vaughn thing. I was the other day against the Dodgers. I think it was game 1, bottom of the first. 2 outs, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Andrew Vaughn's up. It's a 3-run homer. I'm sitting there like, dude, you got to be kidding me.
Of course.
Then he comes back 2 days later and hits the walk-off game winner. I'm like, dude, I give up. I quit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Christian Yelich will disappear for months. You don't hear his name once. And then all of a sudden he looks like the MVP of baseball again. It's like, man, they just never go away. And with that 3-man rotation, I'm telling you, if the Milwaukee Brewers make the playoffs, which I believe they're going to, that's going to be a very tough team to beat. If those guys go into the playoffs and pitch their best, all 3 of them, Peralta, Mizrowski, if they all pitch their best, they're going to be a tough team to beat in the playoffs because it's basically going to turn into a 3-man rotation.
If they pitch their best for the rest of the season, I don't know that the Cubs can win the division.
I don't know
That's
either.
what scares me.
No.
That's
I
what
don't know
scares
either.
me. And
That's the problem with not being involved in the Max Fried sweepstakes, these conversations that these teams are having with these major league, these all-star frontline aces. The Cubs are never involved in these conversations. At some point, if you want to be the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Red Sox, the Phillies, I guess now you could throw the Brewers in that conversation, although they don't spend as much money as those teams. You have to start targeting guys like that in the offseason, the Max Frieds of the world. You have to, because the Cubs just don't have those guys in their farm system right now outside of Jackson Wiggins. And like Jacob has said 50 times here, Wiggins is a prospect. He looks great now. He gets to the major league, all of a sudden he can't get these guys out. That's not out of the realm of possibility. So at some point, the Cubs are going to, whether via the trade or spending money, you have to go get starting pitching. You have to. I think they should have been more involved in the Sasaki conversation. They should have been more involved in the Max Fried conversation. Even I know people can say, oh, he's hurt, so it doesn't matter. But Corbin Burns, they should have been involved in that conversation. You barely even heard their name. And that's the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah.
I'll defend Jed on the Sasaki and the Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns, because the Cubs were interested, but maybe they saw something in his medicals. But it was very clear he took a pay cut to go back to Arizona. So, well, yes, they should have been more involved than they were. I agree with you there, Kyle. I do think he was never coming to Chicago. It seemed very quickly he was like, I just want to play in Arizona. Now he can't play, so it's unfortunate. And now he's not playing at all. And then Sasaki, I don't know if the Cubs really ever had a shot there. Again, that felt like an Ohtani situation where it was like he was always going to the Dodgers. Whether that's what he
seems that way.
Yeah, whether that's what he wanted or not, he was always going to go to the Dodgers. That's what it appears like, and that's disappointing. That him, Yamamoto, and Ohtani are all just teaming up, but it's fun for the Japanese market and it helps baseball in general. And they've lost 7, 8 straight. So, you can't buy wins, especially when 90% of your team's hurt and your training staff is frantically looking to save face. But yeah, the Cubs should have been more involved in guys like Max Fried. And at some point you got to start overpaying for guys. But at the same time, Cubs have the 3rd best record in baseball. So as much as I love to complain, they're right up there. And without spending $89 billion this winter, they're doing just fine. And they're beating the Yankees right now with help by Pete Armstrong's amazing defense.
Yeah, that was a hell of a catch to run that ball down.
At some point, you ask the Chicago Cubs, because they're such a pristine organization that should be competing for championships every year. You don't want to have conversations about meaningful baseball in August. You want to be competing for World Series year in and year out. And the Cubs just right now, if you look at the rest of the pitching staffs in baseball, like the best of the best, you look at the Phillies, you look at the Brewers, you look at the Mets, the Cubs have to get to that level. And if they can't draft those guys, or if they're just like drafting position players over pitchers, at some point you have to start spending money on starting pitching. Or like you guys said, how much of this farm system are you willing to part with to go get some starting pitching? And even the guys like we talked about who are available on the trade market, most of them are probably middle of the rotation guys. If they can somehow go out there and find an ace somewhere, then do it, because they're not going to spend on $700 million in the offseason on pitching. They're not going to. Even if you draft a pitch this week, you drafted one of the best pitchers in the draft, he's not going to be up here for 3 or 4 years. I mean, at some point, the Cubs are just have to find a way to acquire starting pitching. They have to.
There's not too many Paul Skeens out there in the college world that are coming in and going to be lights out.
I don't even see a number I don't see a head and shoulders above the rest guy in this draft. I think it's good. I think they'll like
Kate Anderson.
You think so?
I think and where's he going? Or what pick range is he going? Do you think
1 to 3? That's the thing with the Nationals is, he won't be a vote for the Cubs. I wish, but that's the thing with the Nationals is like, you don't know. They're such a weird organization. They just fired their GM and manager a week before the draft. So you don't really know which way they're going to go. It's so crazy. Shocked a lot of people in the baseball industry. But it's crazy. I think the Cubs are in a good spot. And like I said, I'll trust whatever they do. But Kate Anderson's probably the best pitcher in the draft. I'd say he is. Seth Hernandez, a little more of a wild card just because he's coming out of high school. But after the first 4 or 5 picks, draft's kind of a wild card. Like it's going to be fun. It's going to be really, really fun. I'm excited.
And what number did the Cubs pick?
17.
17. Okay.
I feel like they're
a lot
always,
of options.
They're always right in the middle there. That's like
yeah. No, they are.
We got a couple more topics that I want to get to you, because I know you don't have that much time left on the show, and really, really appreciate you spending a little time with us on this.
Yeah,
Saturday
thanks a lot,
morning.
man. We appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. No problem.
We have if I gave you, I'm going to give you my biggest first half surprise. And then you guys follow up. I want to know your guys' biggest first half surprise. Mine is PCA, because we're right after this. We're going to go into. I got a couple questions for PCA for you boys. I want to see where you guys stand. So my biggest breakout of the first half, biggest surprise, is this man right here, is Daniel Palencia. Kyle, I've been saying this for a while about this kid. Just stay patient, stay patient. He's going to be fine. He brings all the tools to the table. He's finally put it all together, that walk rate's down, strike rate's up. People can't hit him. I mean, he's overwhelming hitters at the plate. So if I said Daniel Palencia to you guys, who would your guys' biggest surprise be? And it can even be Daniel Palencia if you'd like.
I mean, mine, without a doubt, is Matthew Boyd. I'm not saying that I'm surprised that he's a good pitcher in baseball, but not in a million years did I think he was going to be this good. Sean, when they made the signing, I'm like, man, the $29 million hurts a little bit. But the guy has been absolutely amazing. He's been the rock. And without Matthew Boyd, this team would not be anywhere near the situation that they're in right now. They certainly wouldn't have the third best record in baseball. You could say, with the fact that Imanaga missed so much time, he has been their ace. I mean, Matthew Boyd has been their ace. And, there's been times, or at least small stints, where he is pitching like a true ace. I mean, allowing 1 run a game. But, for me, he's definitely the biggest surprise. I've just absolutely fallen in love with him. He's one of my favorite Cubs players now. And here we go again. He's pitching against the Yankees. Let's see what he can do against one of the best offensive lineups in baseball. But, man, this guy's just been a saving grace, after losing Justin Steele and Imanaga for such a long period of time. He was almost like the run stopper for the Cubs. It felt like every time if they let a few games go and they needed somebody to kind of rally the men, Matthew Boyd would get the ball, he'd shut somebody down, and the Cubs get right back into a winning streak. So for me, by far, he has been. I think you could make an argument that outside of PCA, he has been the best Cub this year.
Yeah, no, he probably has, and that was going to be my pick. So I'm going to do a little switcheroo, and I'm going to go to the bullpen. And I I'll do the bullpen in general, because the bullpen, especially after the first, rough week and a half to the first rough beginning of the season, but Drew Pomeranz, dude went over 20 innings scoreless to begin his Cubs career after not taking a major league mound since 2021. That is insane. I cannot emphasize enough how insane that is. That is mind-boggling. Then you have Chris Flexen, who's been doing really well. Brad Keller, hello. Brad Keller's been fantastic. Obviously, he had a rough outing against St. Louis. Rough outings happen, and people were getting on him, but there were a lot of people, for anybody in this bullpen that's had a rough game. It's like, okay, but they've been fantastic the rest of the year. You mentioned Daniel Palencia. Daniel Palencia has been electric out of the bullpen. So yeah, I'm just going to go with the bullpen in general has really broken out this year.
Yeah.
And even though they didn't spend as much money as I would have liked them to in the offseason, they've pieced it together well. So shout out to, Jed Hoyer, Tommy Hotovy, and Tyler Zombro have done a fantastic job on that.
Yeah, Craig Counsell too. Craig Counsell. It's almost like he's a bullpen guru. I mean, you guys, we're talking about how good this bullpen is, and they're missing Eli Morgan, who was probably he had the lowest ERA of anybody they acquired in the offseason. And Porter Hodge has been out a big chunk of the season. So for him to piece this thing together the way he has, for the Cubs to just start adding these arms like you talk about, Jacob Pomeranz. Well, when they signed Pomeranz and Flexen, I was like, oh man, just more bargain shopping. But man, here they are. And these guys are going. And they were like competing. They're like, all right, which one of us is going to allow a run first? We're both at 20 innings. I'm like, man, what are absolutely two amazing additions for the Chicago Cubs? And I feel like sometimes the Cubs just kind of throw darts at the wall and see what sticks. Like you saw them sign a Kenta Maeda. We don't know what's going to come of that, but hey, man, if nobody else wants to sign these guys, and I know Pomeranz was out of baseball for a while, and they're just sitting out there in free agency, why not? Give them a shot. Why not? Great job by the Cubs. I like Jed Hoyer a lot. We talked about this in the last week, Jacob. I think he 100% deserves an extension. I think if he had, if Tom Ricketts walked up to him and said, you know what, you can spend however much money you want, I think this team would be winning World Series.
I agree.
It's consistent.
Yes, that is a fantastic way to put that. Yeah.
Yes.
And we have to, Kyle, because we beat this guy up for a little bit, so we got to give a little shine to a ray of sunshine for the Chicago Cubs. This guy, the guy you don't expect to be the stopper, has been the stopper for the Cubs after that rough start. But you got to give a little props. He's had those little dips, ups and downs, but all of a sudden we needed someone, and here he is in his last three starts: 193 earned run average, 0.75 whip, 18.2 innings. Cubs are 3-0 in those games. He's become the somewhat ace. I don't want to use that loosely.
Over the last 2 weeks, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but, so I got to give a little props to Colin Ray. I want to ask you guys too, the enigma that is Dansby Swanson, before we get into PCA, because I found these numbers the other day. This is crazy to me. It's like he closes his eyes at the plate when there's runners scoring position. I don't know what's happening with this guy. So can someone please explain a couple things to me? What is going on with Dansby freaking Swanson with runners in scoring position this year? Jacob, enlighten us, please.
I have no idea. It is incredible. It's like a curse, because this guy is good, and he's shown that. He's been very good in past years. This is not like it just came out of nowhere. And like you showed the stat there, like he's good with people on base normally. 137 WRC plus is no joke. And you mentioned earlier, it's like a 333 average in July. It's incredible. He hasn't been that bad, but fans are going to really lock in when, normally you're just going to sit there watching the game, but when there's guys on, you are focused on the game. And then Dansby comes up and swings at a slider 3 feet out of the zone to strike out, or a fastball at the top of the zone. So I don't know. And I don't know if there's a fix. I don't know if it's mental. I have to think it's mental, just because he's too good of a hitter to not have fixed it physically by now. So I have to think it's something mentally, as a lot of the stuff in this game is. It's a tough game mentally for the guys on the diamond. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows. Like, maybe the hitting coaches know, but if so, you figure they would have fixed it by now. It's mind-boggling how bad he is with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it because I like Dansby Swanson, but he might just be one of those guys who's just not great under pressure. And obviously, when guys are runners in scoring position, or if you're talking about like ninth inning, 1 out, down by 1, guy on third, those are the highest pressure situations in baseball. And if you look at the metrics, Dansby Swanson, I think, is the 7th worst hitter in baseball this year under pressure situations. And maybe he's just a guy who doesn't like pressure, but yeah, and the teams are going to continue to apply that pressure to Dansby Swanson. For instance, like if there's the bases are loaded and you got a guy up, or there's a man on first and second, you got a guy up, they'll walk a guy to get Dansby Swanson, putting the bat in his hand. But I don't know what's going on with him, man. I've never seen it. Those are the most insane splits I've ever seen in my entire life for any stat in baseball. I mean, it's 2 different players. Those are 2 different players. Those are 2 totally different players. But hopefully, man, somebody can talk to him and he can figure it out. You know, we hit the kind of the same situation with Palencia when Ian Happ sat down with him. It was like Turner sat down with him. We're like, hey, listen, you're one of the best pitchers in baseball. Just pitch it through the zone. Just pitch it through the zone. Hopefully, Dansby Swanson starts to relax a little bit and he doesn't bother him so much that there's runners in scoring position. I feel like he has to be the guy. I mean, there's so much good bats in this lineup. But yeah, Sean, I've never seen anything like that. When you showed that to me the other day, when you talked about it the other day, I'm like, that's insane. That's insane.
It's impressive, but not in a good way. But it's impressive. It's like, how do you? It's when someone does something so many times that you're like, is this on purpose at this rate? Like, how do you accidentally get a 0 on a test? Like, how do you accidentally do this? It's impressive because he's that good of a hitter that he's not this bad.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And maybe at this point he's just pressing because he's felt the pressure, and I can't. I was trying to think about it, and every time he comes up, I'm like, oh, he's going to come through this time. I know he's going to come through. And like you said, Jacob, he's swinging at a ball 3 feet off the plate.
Yeah, what's just weird is he doesn't usually swing at those.
Right.
And in most situations, he usually doesn't swing at those. He's actually got a pretty good eye, but it's weird, man. I've never seen anything like it. He must just not be a high pressure guy. We've seen guys in sports our entire lives, guys like you see guys like the way Lamar Jackson plays in the playoffs, or what Kirk Cousins was playing in prime time. We've heard these guys. Some guys just don't like the pressure. They don't like the bright lights. Maybe Dansby Swanson's problem. I don't know.
But he's been good, like in the past, like in the playoffs and like in the World Series. Like that's where it's because he had a home run in the World Series. That's the most pressure you're ever going to have. So
it's weird.
It's weird. It's something that I can't figure it out. It's really weird.
I don't think it could be quantified. It's
like
just
Scott
something.
says here, leave him in the 8th hole because he seemed to be killing it in that A spot. And they, like, I don't know, like Counsell just feels like he has to be in the 5 hole, which I don't get. Like, put him back where he was helping the team the most, especially when the offense has struggled over the past month. For me. So, Jacob, I know that you don't have that much time left, so I want to get this out there. The stats, the 40-40 thing coming up here, because they call it the second half of the season, but there's a double down the line. The Cubs are going to have runners on second and third with nobody out in the top of the third.
Here we go.
Let's go. Let's get these guys in, though. This is no guarantee with this Cubs team.
Yeah.
So the stats projections that are out on Pete Crow-Armstrong right now, he's on pace for 44 home runs, 47 stolen bases, 122 RBIs, 117 runs, and an 8.9 WAR. And mind you guys, right now, when it comes to WAR, over Shohei Ohtani, 5.1 to 4.2. He holds almost a whole point advantage over Shohei right now as we speak. Could, in your guys' minds, do you believe he can join this field of dreams? Canseco, Bonds, A-Rod, Soriano, Acuna Jr., and Shohei. Can PCA be the 7th person? And this would be crazy because when you look at this list too, 98, 96, 98, 06, they're so spread out. You're looking at someone that can draw 40-40 3 years in a row in all these years of baseball. All right, there's an error by the Yankees, 2-0 Cubbies. All right.
Who was the error on?
Looked like the shortstop. I just turned. The shortstop and third baseman were both there. It is. It looks like the third baseman. There's no.
Oh, Peraza.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, What do you guys think? Does this guy join the Field of Dreams because he already joined one prestigious list earlier this week? So what are your guys' feelings on this? Because he is one of 3 players to have 25 home runs and 25 stolen bases before the All-Star break. 40-40 club. Go ahead.
You two have watched more Cubs baseball than me. But check me if I'm wrong here. I think this is one of the most impressive seasons in Chicago sports history.
Yeah.
Plus, sort of as you mentioned,
in Chicago. He's the best athlete in Chicago sport.
Yes, he is. He's the guy. And also the fact that he broke out, like nobody was expecting him to be this good. And those stats that you showed on those last few pictures don't include defense. They don't include the defense that he's posting.
Base running.
He already had, and the base running. He already has like the most, 5-star catches ever or something like that. I mean, it's just every night it's a highlight, and he is not even 25.
And I'll tell you,
it's incredible.
I hate to say this too, but that fan in New York robbed him yesterday because that looked like he could have had that ball, and that fan reached over when PCA was there, on that belly home run. And Aaron Judge, I'll be honest, I think got helped on that when they stole that ball from PCA because fan ripped it out. So, or the fan could have ripped it out, but the fan missed it because it was just over slightly to his glove, which would have been awesome, but nonetheless.
Yeah, Sean, regardless whether or not he ends up being a 40-40 guy, and absolutely, as a Cubs fan, I would love to see him do that because it'd be huge for him and his confidence going forward, because I know a lot of people are like, well, this is a 1-year thing. Blah, blah, blah. I don't believe it. I think PCA is too good of an athlete to be a 1-year thing. But, I mean, Sean, just the fact that we're having these conversations and he's on these lists, the lists that you're talking about, he's being compared to names like Barry Bonds and Ronald Acuna Jr. I mean, just the fact, and Ohtani, he is clearly a superstar. He's the most marketable player in Chicago sports, and I hope he's here for a very long time because I believe that PCA is a top 5 player in baseball, and I think he's always going to be until he loses his speed because, like Jacob said, everybody talks about the home runs. Everybody talks about the power. He was projected to have 20 home runs. He's already got 25. How about the fact that this guy is the fastest player in baseball, the best outfielder in baseball, and if he can turn a routine single into a double at any given moment, not to mention the pressure he puts on the opposing team whenever he's on base. I mean, that's why they don't want to walk him. They never want to walk him because, if he gets on base, he can steal 2 bases. So he's just right now, whether people like it or not, because listen, guys, I believe Kyle Tucker is an amazing player. I think he's also a top 10 player in baseball, but PCA is the heartbeat of the Chicago Cubs. And if you're a Chicago sports fan, if you like the Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, and you're like, man, what jersey should I buy next? Go buy your PCA jersey now because this guy's going to be doing this shit for a long time, a very long time.
Hey, you know what? He just moved up into 18th. They had it on the ball game yesterday. He cracked the top 20s up to 18th top selling jersey. I actually thought it would be a little bit higher already, but, because Chicago usually sells.
Well, it's all Dodgers, right? Let me guess. The top 5 are Dodgers.
3 of the top 5, I think, were Dodgers.
Of course.
I can't remember the list. I was going to take a picture of my phone when it was up yesterday.
Ohtani's always going to be number 1.
Hey, 4-0 Cubbies, man. Base hit. Who just got that base hit? Was that PCA?
Happ.
That was Ian Happ. Ian Happ. Yeah. 4-0 Cubbies going in.
Max Fried's broken. The Cubs have broken Max Fried per sources.
Retire, Max.
and to visit Joe's point here, with PCA having some rough at bats, he does have some rough at bats. He's a free swinger. He's aggressive, and I know Scotty's.
It's working.
Is watching. That's what I keep telling
working.
People, man.
Why people keep telling me he's too aggressive. He needs to be more disciplined. You guys, he's hitting. So until it'd be one thing if he was hitting 202 with 20 home runs. The guy's hitting 270. Like, just keep doing what you're doing until it stops working, and then make your adjustment. But how many times have we seen PCA hit home runs on balls that are 6 inches above the zone or 6 inches outside of the zone? Until he can't hit those, keep doing it. I say, hey, PCA, keep doing exactly what you've been doing for the first half of the season. Do not change anything. If I'm a Cubs coach, that's what I'm telling you. Do not change anything. Keep being PCA.
And before we let Jacob go, I got one question for you, because this guy right here, Garrett Crochet, who the Cubs could have signed as well, is tearing it up. Can you give us, coming out of the break, the Bo Sox travel to Wrigley Field? Can you give us a post All-Star break preview of that 3-game set, which, just like the Yankees, is historic for many, many reasons? Cubs, Red Sox. It's a beautiful, beautiful way to start the second half of the season. Can you give us a little preview? What do you expect out of that series? Can the Cubs win 2 out of 3 in that series?
That series is going to be really fun. Yeah, it's tough. The Crochet thing, I'm not too convinced that they would have been able to get Crochet just because of Jerry Reinsdorf. I think that Jerry Reinsdorf was the one that probably would have mixed that up and messed that up. I'm double checking. I believe they just put out the starting pitching. Yeah, so the Cubs will face Lucas Giolito, Brian Bayo, and Garrett Crochet. From the Red Sox point of things, Giolito has been on fire lately. Bayo just threw a complete game, and then Garrett Crochet is, well, Garrett Crochet. And the Red Sox are red hot. No pun intended, although pun intended, because that's clever. 8 wins in a row. Last night, Cedon Rafaela, who is being called PCA light. And at first, I said it was dumb. No, they're correct. His defense is outstanding, and he has finally learned how to pull the ball. That was the big thing, is he could not pull the ball in the air. And, I mean, I'm out here in Massachusetts, and so a lot of my friends out here are Red Sox fans, and that's what they said is he needs to pull the ball in the air. He's been doing that. He did that last night. He hit a walk-off 2-run home run out of Fenway off of Pete Fairbanks. So they have Bregman back now as well. Their pitching is still a worry, but it doesn't really matter because after the All-Star break, you're going to have your top 3 arms going, and the Red Sox do. Cubs should as well, but yeah, it's going to be a tough series, but also really fun because what's better than Cubs, Red Sox both of them doing really, really well. And the Red Sox have sort of catapulted themselves back into the playoff race. Not that they were ever out of it, but I think after trading Devers, things got a little shaky, especially within the fan base. Now, do they trade Duran? Do they trade Wilyer Abreu? Do they trade an Aroldis Chapman? Do they trade Alex Bregman? There's a lot of guys that they have to be looking into, but yeah, it's going to be a fun series, especially with those pitching matchups, and the Red Sox are smoking hot right now. Like I said, 8 straight wins. They could make it 10 if they win tonight and on Sunday. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, I don't know. People keep talking about the Red Sox players being available for trade. This team has 51 wins.
I know, dude. It's crazy. Wins.
And, you know, we've already seen the trade market value, like the trade market kind of messed up as it is because baseball just keeps adding wild card teams and more playoff teams to baseball. So really, realistically, there's 4 teams out of a playoff, or like a realistic playoff run. I mean, I just don't think that people like breaking news. Bruce puts in the comments here: the trade room, the Cubs keep an eye on Red Sox. Lucas Giolito, guys. I don't think the Red Sox are going to like blow this thing up. I think they're going to. If anything, they plan on making a run at being a playoff team in the World Series. I think they have a very good team and a lot of youth there, so they're probably only going to get better. I mean, Garrett Crochet is young. I mean, Lucas Giolito is not like he's had ups and downs in his career, but like Jacob said, he's been very consistent lately. I think the Red Sox are a much better team than people give credit for. It's a team I would watch out for. It's a team I would want to play in the playoffs. People, I think once they traded Devers away to the Giants, people were like, well, the Red Sox are out of it. I don't think so. I think if they thought they were going to be out of it after trading Devers away, they wouldn't have traded him away.
Jacob, we're gonna let you roll. I got one more thing for you before we do. Do you think that Mizorowski deserved the playoff spot, or deserve the All-Star spot, over any of these guys?
No.
Especially Christopher Sanchez.
Especially Christopher Sanchez, who pitches tomorrow, and people are saying that then you name him an All-Star so he at least gets that accolade, because that'll especially help in arbitration. And now teams are going to be like, well, but you didn't make the team. Yeah, I mean, all 3 of those guys did. And it's not me hating because I don't like the Brewers, although I don't. It's more just, it's like Mizorowski is such a good pitcher. He is going to dominate this league for years to come. Yeah. But he's not better than any of those names with his 5-game track record. I mean, the Phillies went off on him. Nick Castellanos said that we're turning into the Savannah Bananas, one of the best lines in baseball history. It's Nick Castellanos, so we shouldn't be surprised. But yeah, it's weird. And I don't know why they did it. I mean, I get it. Selling tickets, it's going to sell tickets, but it's frustrating because you want to see the guys that have done it for more than just 5 starts earn that respect. And tell Mizorowski that he can do it next year. You know, be like this, and you'll do it next year instead.
Yeah. You know, on top of it, they dropped the ball, in my personal opinion, on Suzuki, and they dropped the ball on Michael Busch as well. I think personally, the Cubs should have had 7 All-Stars in this game. They've earned it. I mean, Michael Busch with that, I think he's a plus 170 OPS right now, and there's only 6 first basemen all time that have done that before the All-Star break.
Yeah, he's incredible.
It's like, dude.
Yeah, I mean, guys, this is like a position player coming up, playing 7 games, hitting 5 home runs, and they're like, well, you're obviously an all-star. You should be an all-star. I mean, this is ridiculous. Like, I agree, Jacob, and I'm going to sit here and say this right now. This has, I think, with my brain, not my heart. I don't like the Brewers, but that's nothing to do with that. If there's just any pitcher on any team in baseball, you can't give this guy an all-star but not after 5 starts in baseball. Watch his. No. For all we know, his next 5 starts, he might have a 13 ERA, and we know he's had control problems in the farm system. So who's to say that doesn't come back? I just think it's ridiculous. I think, Jacob, I think you nailed it on the head. I think people have heard about Mizorowski, this flamethrower who came up to the Brewers, and they know it's going to sell tickets and people want to see him on TV, so they threw him in the All-Star game. I think that's exactly what it is. No doubt about it. It's a popularity contest.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is.
Suzuki was leading the league in RBIs and didn't get in the All-Star game. That's like a player in the NBA leading the league in points and not making the All-Star game. Have you ever heard anything like that? Right. You're like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I think it's impossible. I was going to say it's impossible. No, it is. It's like in middle school when you do or even in high school when you do like the class presidents and stuff, and it's like, okay, this is a popularity contest. Like, come on. Yeah, 100%. Or I mean, anything in public school. Let's be honest. It's all that, and that's kind of what this is. It's like, okay, Suzuki deserved to be not a starter because Ohtani's been better, but it's just a tough poll with being in the same position. But he deserved to be on the roster. Michael Busch deserved to be on the roster. Yeah, and even if they're added as reserves later, the fact that they weren't on the first list is what makes no sense.
Yeah, and I'll be perfectly honest. I Googled it, and I think it was Hank Greenberg, 1939 or 29 or something like that, was the last player to lead baseball and not in RBIs and not make the baseball team. It just makes it more of a joke. I'm very frustrated right now.
Yeah, Jacob, I don't know what that situation was, but even that situation in 1930, that's also ridiculous. If I talked to guys with the All-Star voting then, I'd be like, that's ridiculous. The guy was leading baseball in RBIs, which means he's probably the most clutch hitter in baseball to this point of the season.
Kyle, he had over 100 RBIs that year too at the break.
Maybe he was like a gambling, raging alcoholic or something. He just it was just bad for baseball. I don't know, but that's insane. And you know what? What did Suzuki do the day he found out he didn't make the All-Star game? What did he go? 4 for 5 with a home run, 2 doubles. Good for him, man. Good for him.
And Jacob, we really, really appreciate your time today, man. We got a couple more things we're gonna hit before we get out of here. But hopefully we can do this again soon, man. I want to try and link up you and Alex Pat on the same show because I think that would be so much fun to have you guys bouncing ideas off of each other. We love Alex. He's been on the show a bunch of times.
Yeah, Sean, real quick, I just want to say everybody in the chat, thank you so much for joining us. This is the most people we've ever had live on a Saturday, obviously due in part to the fact that Jacob Znola is here. Absolutely. Jacob, if you could real quick, just tell everybody in the chat, everybody on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, where they can find you at, where they can follow you at, just so they know how to follow you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You can follow at Real Cubs Insider. That's the business account, but then at Jacob Zanola is where I'm posting all the Cubs stuff, and then also all my work here in the Cape Cod Baseball League. Got a big piece coming out in about an hour for that, and then we'll head off to another game just at the halfway mark. So we got about 20-ish games left there, but all the work's going to be on Cubs Insider, my personal account. So I appreciate everybody tuning in.
Yeah, and the chat is saying good insight, Jacob. Fun show, Jacob. Thank you so much, Jacob. So we really appreciate you being here, man. I know obviously you're a very busy guy with all the stuff you got going on, working for 2 sports organizations, but we do appreciate your time, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just shoot me a message whenever you guys want. I'm happy to come on again.
Yeah, awesome, absolutely, man. Sounds great. Thank you so much. Enjoy. Let's go Cubbies.
Yeah, enjoy the All-Star game, man.
Yeah, enjoy the All-Star
Thank you.
game.
I appreciate it.
Have a good one, brother. All right.
What a nice guy, man.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. And
Yeah.
you know what, guys? I'm going to be
What a
perfectly
good dude.
honest. He hit me up this morning, completely caught me off guard. I know me and him were trying to link up on a Cubs show over the next couple of weeks, and he was like, "How about this morning?" I was like,
I
"In like
enjoyed it,
40
man.
minutes?"
I felt like we were all kind of shooting from the hip. It was fun, man. He's obviously a very smart kid. I wish him nothing but the best, man. He's moving up in the world. He seems like, I bet you that he's going to go far in the sports industry world.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, but he's a really smart, sharp kid. I enjoyed having him on. It would be awesome to have him and Alex on at the same time. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I'm going to work. I talked to Alex this morning, and he said unfortunately he wasn't home today. He's out this weekend completely. But he said he definitely wants to see if he can set up a show, and we'll see if we can get them on together, because holy crap, would that be something special for the Northside Nine.
Two great baseball minds on the Northside Nine podcast would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
go ahead, Shell, where we go from here?
You know what? We don't have a week to look ahead, but we can go back, and I hate to be the burden of bad news, but I believe my 7-5 record is the winner.
Yeah.
Honestly, going into Minnesota after we kicked the crap out of the Cardinals, I was like, man, these guys are going to get me this week. I did not see the Cubs. I actually wanted to ask Jacob about losing to S. Woods Richardson and freaking stupid David Festa. I mean, those guys are not good pitchers, and the fact that the Cubs had two uncompetitive offensive showings against those guys just absolutely blew my freaking mind, dude.
Yeah, every team in baseball has points where you just feel like the offense is kind of reaching. They're trying too hard. But man, for me, over the last 5 seasons, since the 2016 World Series, it seems like it happens to the Cubs more often than other teams. There's
right?
Just like these, and this year for the Cubs, thankfully, it's been more spread out. It's not like a big month-long span where it just seems like they can't find a hit to save their lives. But there's just certain games where it's like, Cubs, you're better than this guy. You guys are better. Your lineup is better than this guy. This guy sucks. Like, go out there and be you guys and go beat the shit out of this guy with a 7 ERA. But man, those 2 games in Minnesota were rough. That was rough. That was probably the worst I've seen this Cubs team play this season. But I mean, they bounced back obviously to wrap up the series there, and they came back to true form, and they looked like the Chicago Cubs again. And Sean, here they are, beat the Yankees 4-0 in the 3rd inning. So this is just baseball. It's the way it goes, man. There's so many ups and downs, so many ebbs and flows. They're going to be all right. I just, like we talked about earlier on the show, that Brewers rotation is just.
Kyle, we'll see what happens, because at the end of this month, the last 3 days of this month, I think 29th, 30th, and 31st, the Cubs are in Milwaukee. That's gonna be make or break. And I know we play Milwaukee again. But if you lose 2 out of 3 and you wind up falling out of first, I mean, and leading up into that, you got Boston coming in, and Jacob just touched on how red hot the Red Sox are right now. I mean, this is going to be another team tough matchup, and you just hope that the All-Star break maybe cools them off a little bit.
Well, Sean, you don't just recent history. You don't have to look too far back to see what can happen. The Yankees got cold, and the Blue Jays got hot at the same time, and the matter of 6 days, it went from the Yankees had a 3-game lead to the Blue Jays had a 3-game lead. So yeah, you obviously you have to play well against every team in baseball, but division rivals in particular, especially the team that's 1 game behind you, when you play that team, you need to show up. You need to have your best of the best of the best. The good news for the Cubs, Sean, is with the All-Star break, I believe they're going to try to reset the rotation so that their best 3 match up against Milwaukee's best 3. Because I bet you when we run in Milwaukee, it's going to be Peralta, Mizorowski, and Woodruff, and that's going to be a very, very tough series for the Cubs. Those games need to be like 2-3, 1-0. Like, that's the type of baseball the Cubs have to play when they play Milwaukee, and they need to be good at it. And they've been good at those games so far this season, Sean. They've actually been very good at one-score games.
And people just got to remember, right now, I know it's a 1-game lead, but the Cubs currently have the tiebreaker, so it's technically still a 2-game lead in the division, and you can add 2 games on to the Reds because we're 2 games better than them in the division. And the Reds worry me a lot more than the Cardinals do, because the Reds have a good offense, and I know Chase Burns, after his first outing, struggled a little bit. But they still got Hunter Green. They still got Andrew Abbott. Nick Lodolo was an honorable mention for the All-Star game. So they have a big 3. And if Chase Burns next year figures it out this year, like we were hoping with Ben Brown, holy crap, now you're looking at the Reds having a solid 1, 2, 3, 4 in that rotation. I'm just going to want to blow my brains out for the
but the good thing about the Reds and the Pirates, 2 teams who have always been notorious for finding and developing good pitchers is they just don't keep them, man. Like, I think Peralta wants a contract extension, and there's a good chance that Milwaukee can't afford it. It's the same can be said for Pittsburgh. And I mean, you got Jared Jones, you got Paul Skeens, you got Sean. How long before one of those guys is traded? How long before you see the next Jameson Taillon and Garrett Cole? Same for the Reds. When's the last time you saw the Reds pay all of the talent that they drafted and developed? I mean, I don't know how long all of those guys are under contract for, but it seems like when it comes to the Reds and the Pirates, they in the offseason, they lose more talent than they add. So it's just until they start spending money, which they're just not a big market team, so they're never really going to be in that conversation.
The Cubs chased Max Fried. The Cubs chased Max Fried in 3 innings, man. That's pretty impressive.
He's hurt, Sean.
Oh, he got hurt?
Well, I think he's got a blister on his finger. They were addressing his finger at some point.
What's up, Phil? Thanks for checking in, brother.
What's going on, Phil? Hey, real quick, Vizzo Joe, Phil, Scott, Breaking News, Bruce, everybody in the chat. Kyle Harris, thank you so much for joining us today, guys. John S. It's always nice to have people show up when we have guests on. We want to make them feel like there's people out there listening to them. We have 122 people listening now live, most of them probably on Twitter. If you are on Twitter, please go over to our YouTube channel, hit that like and subscribe button. We're going to have a couple more special guests here in the next month or so, guys. So keep your eye on Northside 9. Be on the lookout. We always have something new for you guys. Sean, is there anything else you want to talk about? You want to talk about the All-Star game?
Yeah, really quick. I just want to take a trip to the farm really quick.
Let's do it.
Because I know I brought this up earlier. I know I brought this up with Jefferson Rojas, and I just wanted to touch on this. When you look at these numbers, okay, and this is just the development I wanted to talk about. In 96 games last year, 419 plate appearances, he hit 245, 310 OBP, a 336 slug, and a 646 OPS. He's in 65 games. He has surpassed every single one of those numbers. Last year, he had 64 strikeouts. He's at 45 right now, so he's still on pace for that. But he walked 35 times last year. He's up to 40. And I'm going to let you guys know another secret about him. He hit another home run last night. He's up to 10 dingers. I just can't get away from how good this kid could be, how infectious his smile is. And when you watch him, and I'm going to give you guys a little preview right here, right now, because hold on, let me find this really quick. When you look at the ceiling on this kid, it's unbelievable where he could actually go. And when you look at what I'm about to show you, I'm trying to find it. I'm sorry for the delay here. Look at this pitch. Okay, let me pull this off. Look at this pitch that he hits. This pitch is high outside, out of the zone. Not only does he hit it, he drives it opposite field.
2-1. Hit in the air down the left field line pretty deep. Back to the wall is Alostre. He's looking up, and this ball is gone. Jefferson Rojas with his 9th of the year. Hoosier Lottery.
And that was yesterday. I'm sorry, he did not hit that oppo. But if you look at where that pitch was, man, that was knee high outside, and he yanked it down the line for a dinger. His pitch recognition. I'm going to
2-1. Hit in the air down the left field line pretty deep. Back to the wall is Alostre. He's looking up, and this ball.
I mean, knee high, outside fastball that this dude just picks up and drives.
Well, and Sean, when it comes to Jefferson Rojas, it's something this is what I was talking about. We were talking to Jacob. Is like I do agree that no prospect is untouchable, but you gave away Cam Smith, who I think has star potential. You're talking about maybe Jackson Wiggins and Jefferson Rojas being included in your trade, guys who have star potential. I'm all for adding starting pitcher, but at some point you're going to have to dig into the farm system, right? Whether it be due to injury or just because you can't pay everybody. So I'm not saying keep them all because you don't have 40 positions on a baseball field, but I would keep a couple guys down there just to make sure, just guys who you, and not only that, Sean, but these guys, I know that they haven't proven themselves in the major leagues yet, but these guys are also very young. So you're talking about guys you can have under control for multiple years, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. that makes that championship window larger and longer. So I am all for adding starting pitcher, and obviously the Cubs are not going to do it in free agency. They're not going to spend money on guys like Max Fried, so they're going to have to trade some of these pieces. But you should try to find a way to keep some of them here. I mean, Owen Casey's their number one prospect. Jefferson Rojas in a couple of years will probably be their number one prospect. Jackson Wiggins certainly is in the top 3 list. If you trade all of them, where do you go when you start to have injuries or when guys decide they want to play somewhere else? Or like you just have to – somebody's got to stay. I'm not saying that you should keep all of them, but somebody's got to stay.
Yeah, and this could be where they go, man. You brought up his name, so I figured I'd throw up the graphic. The fiery redhead, Owen Casey, his last 20 games is on an absolute heater for the Chicago Cubs. And the thing I like, because Kyle, you know I've always dogged on him for those strikeouts. But look at that. In his last 20 games, 15 walks, 9 dingers, and 5 doubles. I mean, that means he's recognizing pitches a little bit better. I really like what I'm seeing out of Owen Casey. And as Jacob touched on, unfortunately, if we're going to do something here, Casey and Jonathan Long might be 2 of the big pieces that are no longer here with the Cubs.
Sean, I'm okay parting ways with Casey if you're willing to pay Kyle Tucker. I mean, if we get rid of Casey, we already got rid of Cam Smith. And Kyle Tucker walks in free agency, who's your right fielder?
Yeah, that's.
And people will say, well, maybe it could be Kevin Alcantara. Okay, but then you lose Ian Happ next year. So who's your left fielder?
And you know the one thing I did here, and this was a score. This was on the Score, and this was a Cubs insider, and I can't remember who it was. It was earlier in the week that he said, if you want to see the way the trade winds blow, and I don't know how much truth there is to this, but I'm just going to throw it out there for the audience. He said that if the Cubs trade Owen Casey, that means the Cubs feel a lot better about re-signing Kyle Tucker long-term. If Owen Casey's retained, that means they don't feel good about keeping Kyle Tucker. We'll find out if that holds any weight.
Well, Sean, and ultimately it's not up to them. I mean, unless they can get an extension done before he hits free agency. But the second that guy hits free agency, the Cubs have no say in whether or not they keep Kyle Tucker. Because if the Boston Red Sox decide they want to give Kyle Tucker, then we've heard them say that they're interested in Kyle Tucker comes the offseason. If they decide they want to give him $700 million, the Cubs are not going to match that. They're just not going to match that. And you know what? Life's like you said in the past, Sean. I'm all about spending smart money. If they don't think he's worth $700 million, then don't give him $700 million. But we've talked about this time and time again. This has been kind of a theme for the Northside Nine this season. If the Cubs want to compete with teams like the Dodgers, Mets, Phillies for championships, you have to start spending like the Dodgers, Mets, and Phillies. Now, I'm not saying you have to sign every single good available free agent in baseball, but at some point you have to pay a guy more than $187 million, which is the highest contract the Cubs have ever paid out. Times are changing, Sean. We're going to see $1 billion contract here soon in baseball. So if some team like the Dodgers give a guy $1 billion contract and the Cubs still haven't surpassed $200 million, they're never going to be competing for World Series. It's just not. It's not going to be consistent. They might be like that 2015 Royals team where everything goes right on the same year and everything just happens to fall into place. But if you want to be have sustained success, consistently competing for championships, this is the way baseball is going. You have to spend money. It's the way it's going.
Yeah, and, as we stay down on the farm really quick, Jackson Wiggins being removed from the futures game, there's a concept known as acute chronic workload ratio, ACR, and that's what they were applying here. Wiggins was pacing for 130 innings pitched. His previous high was 60. He's missed his last couple games at Double-A Tennessee. People got to remember he is coming off of 2023 elbow surgery. I believe it was Tommy John that he had. He is scheduled to pitch again around the 19th of July in a multi-inning capacity. So we will see what happens with him, but it wasn't injury related. It's this. I'm just learning about this too. I had to do dive into this ACR, acute chronic workload, and it just has something to do with higher volume, lower effort. That's exactly, it's kind of a rest thing that they did. The other big thing that came out of the minor leagues was Ben Brown, who took since he was sent down, had made his first start earlier this week in Omaha, threw 54 pitches, 4 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 earned, 1 walk, no strikeouts. He topped out at 97 miles per hour. 35 of his 54 pitches were strikes.
No strikeouts?
No strikeouts in the game. Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
Very, very.
That guy strikes out major leaguers.
Yeah, very surprising. But yeah, so when we just go and look at this, I think the Cubs have some potential to do something. And as Jacob and all of us discussed just a little bit ago, what's going on, Notorious? I think that we have to remember that prospects are prospects and these are major leaguers. I really like the way he put that because it kind of made me honestly take a deep breath when I think about giving away some of these guys. Like, hey, we're in win mode now. We know these guys, especially say they were to pull off that deal with Minnesota and they were to get Willie Castro, Griffin Jacks, and Joe Ryan. You just got 3 major leaguers that can help you potentially win a World Series right now and not have that question 5 years down the road if these players can. So,
yeah, Sean, I agree with both. Like, you should be willing to part ways. There should be no name, one particular that you fall in love with and you're not willing to part ways with if it means getting one of the best players in baseball here. But at the same time, look at the teams like the Dodgers. Like, these guys have added a lot of talent through free agency, but look at the farm system. They also still have a bunch of studs in the farm system coming up to replace people at any given moment because even the Dodgers can't pay everybody. So I think if you look at the best teams in baseball, the championship caliber teams, they're pretty notorious for having a pretty good farm system too. I think you got to be good at both. You have to have the best of both worlds. So you have to determine how you're going to spend your money in the off season. You also have to be good at drafting and developing. And that's part of being a good organization, right? You have to be good at drafting and developing. So you should have talent in your farm system. So I'm all for the Cubs parting ways with some of this talent to go get us starting pitching because pitching wins championships. But at the same time, you do have to have some guys down there that you can lean on at some point if somebody decides, or say like the Justin Steele situation, the fact that we were able to bring up Ben Brown, the fact that we're able to bring up Kate Horton. You're going to run into situations like that in the future as well. So you do have to have talent down there. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know it wasn't long, but 3 innings of no-hit baseball is over. Aaron Judge ripped one down the line, and he got a double. But Giancarlo Stanton is in an 0-2 count. And foul ball. I hopefully
John was really hoping for the strikeout.
I really am. Yeah, I didn't even realize this is only hitting 250 with 3 dingers on the year, dude. That's crazy.
Well, he's played 90 games?
I don't know. Has he been hurt?
I don't think he's played 90 games. I wouldn't even if he hasn't been hurt, Sean, even if he's healthy, I wouldn't play him because he's gonna get hurt.
Well, Kyle, the one thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap this thing up, and it kind of really pissed me off yesterday, and I don't know if Scott's still there because him and I in the chat,
Sean, he's played 19 games. He's played 19 games this season.
Oh, okay. He's only played 19 games. They just put his stats up. I don't really follow Yankees baseball, so I guess 3 home runs in 19 games isn't bad.
Yeah, that's not bad. Nothing to be ashamed of.
I will say this. I don't. I'm a defender. I'm a defender of my boy Craig Counsell, and I didn't like what he did yesterday, though, to Jordan Wicks. The Yankees are the best team in baseball versus left-handed pitching. They have a 143, a WRC plus of 143, which is miles ahead of the next team against left-handed pitching. And that's at home. On the road, they're plus 126, which is also first in baseball. And you let Jordan Wicks out to the Wolves to get slaughtered yesterday. And I just was not understanding. Look, man, you got to look at metrics and you got to know this is a young pitcher that you just led the Lamb to slaughter, man. I was not happy. I was actually really pissed watching this game. Like, you can bring in anybody.
You could bring in John Birdie.
Yeah, it
was 10-0. You could have brought in John Birdie, but it's what sucks for Jordan Wicks is he comes in, he gets put in that situation, he doesn't look very good, and now all of a sudden they're like, oh, we're sending him back down. Like if he had played the Twins and they had given up one hit through 3 innings, he would probably still be on the roster today. But you just put him out there against the best lineup in baseball, and it's like, well, he's obviously not good enough to be on this roster, so let's send him back down. Like, I don't think that's very fair either, man. It's like having a pitcher go against a bunch of all-stars and be like, this guy's just not very good. Or maybe he's just playing the best players in baseball. And if he plays teams like the Pirates or any of the garbage teams in baseball, he looked really good. Not to mention Jordan Wicks coming off injury rehab. He's been up and down all season. He's had struggles. You knew that. I mean, I don't think it was just very good for his psyche, Sean. I think Jordan Wicks at some point needs for them to kind of they need to give him a layup.
Right.
Give him an easy outing, low pressure, and maybe, see what he does.
Maybe, just maybe, this was the last time we see Jordan Wicks pitch in a Chicago Cubs uniform, which would be a rarity if you go back and look at the first round draft picks in the Jed Hoyer era. It would be a rarity that we lose one, and this would be unfortunate because, as Kyle's mentioned many times right here on the Northside Nine, this guy was advertised as a major league ready, getting on the hill, let's go. But as I've said many, many times in all of sports, never trust a product from Kansas State.
Yeah, it's just very odd for a first-round pick who they said, all experts said, was the most major league ready pitcher in the draft. And this guy's been in baseball for 3 years, and he looks like he's never played baseball. So, I mean, it's just there's something going on with Jordan Wicks. I don't know what it is. Maybe he's just like we just talked about with Jacob, Sean, prospects are prospects. You never know what they're going to be at the major league level. But obviously, Jordan Wicks has been struggling, and I wouldn't be surprised at all, Sean, if his name is on the trade list. So wouldn't surprise me.
What time we got here? All right, we usually do about 90 minutes. We're going to spend the last 3 minutes honoring Lee Elia. For whoever has never heard this rant before, it's the greatest rant in the history of sports.
No, yeah, by the way, guys, this is not like him talking to the players in the locker room. This is him talking to the media. This was national.
Yes. And God bless his soul. God rest his soul, and our condolences go out to his family. But I can't think of a better way to honor him than this.
Thanks, T. Appreciate it.
I'll tell you one fucking thing. I hope we get fucking hotter than shit just to stuff it up them 3,000 fucking people that show up every fucking day. Because if they're the real Chicago fucking fans, they can kiss my fucking ass right downtown and print it. They're really, really behind you around here. My fucking ass. What the fuck am I supposed to do? Go out there and let my fucking players get destroyed every day and be quiet about it for the fucking nickel-dime people that show up? The motherfuckers don't even work. That's why they're out at the fucking game. They want to go out and get a fucking job and find out what it's like to go out there and earn a fucking living. 85% of the fucking world's working. The other 15 come out here. A fucking playground for the cocksuckers. Rip them motherfuckers. Rip them cocksuckers like the fucking players. Got guys busting their fucking ass and them fucking people too. And that's the Cubs? My fucking ass. They talk about the great fucking support that the players get around here. I haven't seen it this fucking year. The name of the game is hit the ball, catch the ball, and get the fucking job done. Right now, we have more losses than we have wins. The fucking changes that have happened in the Cub organization are multifold. All right, they don't show because we're 5-14. And unfortunately, that's the criteria of them dumb 15 motherfucking percent that come out to day baseball. The other 85% are earning a living. It'll take more than a 5-13 or 5-14 to destroy the makeup of this club. I'll guarantee you that. There's some fucking pros out there that want to fucking play this game. But you're stuck in a fucking stigma of the fucking Dodgers and the Phillies and the Cardinals and all that cheap shit. All these motherfucking editorials about Say and fucking the Phillyitis and all that shit, it's sickening. It's unbelievable. It really is. It's a disheartening fucking situation we're in right now. 5-14 doesn't negate all that work. Got 143 fucking games left. What I'm trying to say is don't rip them fucking guys out there. Rip me. If you want to rip somebody, rip my fucking ass. But don't rip them fucking guys because they're giving everything they can give. But once we hit that fucking groove, it'll flow. And it will flow. The talent's there. I don't know how to make it any clearer to you. I'm frustrated. I'll guarantee I'm frustrated. It'd be different if I walked in this room every day at 8:30 and saw a bunch of guys that didn't give a shit. They give a shit, and it's a tough National League East. It's a tough National League, period.
I don't know if it gets any better than that.
Dude,
There is
what year was that?
40 F-bombs in that rant.
What year was that?
1983.
It's
And he
just
was right.
insane.
The talent was there because the Cubs should have won the pennant in 1984. So I'll just say, if we get a strike for that, we can erase it at the end of the show. That's why I say I had to put that out there, though. That was awesome.
That's certainly one of the most famous rants in the history of sports. I mean, I think he said every swear word that existed in 1983 at least 3 times.
And I'll tell you that the next one for me is Mike Gundy, the Oklahoma State coach, when they attacked his kids. Oh man, attack me! I'm 40.
Oh, there's a ton of them. The Dennis Green one after the Bears game was amazing.
Dennis Green one's good too.
The Mora one about playoffs. The Allen Iverson one when the guy asked him why I didn't show up to practice was pretty good. That was entertaining. But yeah, that Elia one that is by far the most vile one I've ever heard of. I mean, Sean, can you imagine if somebody tried to do that today?
Oh my God!
That same speech right there. He tried to say the exact same thing today on television or radio. They would crucify him.
They would be canned.
He would be banned from Major League Baseball.
He would be banned.
That'd be like the equivalent of gambling on games. They'd be like, you know what? 41 F-bombs in a span of 3 minutes is not okay, sir. You are no longer allowed in Major League Baseball facilities.
Well, boys, we will be back. And I believe on Monday. Kyle, are you working tomorrow?
Yeah.
You are? What time?
Sunday, 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. We're contemplating an impromptu quick Bears show tomorrow if Kyle has time. Maybe Brandon and Dustin. If not, we'll reserve it for Monday. We were all a little busy yesterday with the Ryan Poles news breaking, so we didn't get a chance to speak. I do have some things I know I have a lot of detractors out there that bring it up on the shows of my past hatred of Ryan Poles, and it was never hatred. It was just disappointment. But I have my feelings about this too. You know, the extension is one thing. You know, there's a lot of points that you could point to that he didn't deserve an extension. But some of the things that he's built here recently have changed that.
We'll get into it tomorrow or Monday, but
yeah,
my thought on the whole thing is, listen, Ryan Poles been perfect, absolutely not, no way, shape, or form. But the Bears have been doing everything backwards for the last 50 years. It's about time they were like, hey, you know what? We're all in. This is our coach. This is our GM. They're going to be here in this marriage for the next 5 years together. Let's see what these two can do. We believe we put the right people in place, but changing your GM or your coach, your offensive coordinator every single year just has never worked for any sports franchise in the world. I believe Ryan Poles is learning on the job, although I do agree he's not the best GM in football. I think this is a move that had to be made once you hired Ben Johnson to that contract. Sean, especially due to the fact that Ryan Poles is the one who hired Ben Johnson. So it would be very strange for Ben Johnson to be hired by the Chicago Bears as the head coach, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, remember that guy that liked you so much, he hired you to be head coach? Yeah, we're firing that guy. It's just,
right.
This is something that had to be done, whether Bears fans like it or not. And listen, Ryan Poles been perfect? No. Does he need to be better? It's particularly in the draft and talent evaluation. Absolutely, certainly. But I think with the right help here, Ben Johnson and this staff, I think that they can come together and build a championship caliber football team. But we'll talk about that on Monday, guys. We'll talk about it at a different time. But yeah, the Bears have extended Ryan Poles for a 5-year contract.
Show up Monday, T. I'm sure you'll like what I have to say because I already started writing a speech. But until then, guys, enjoy the home run derby. Enjoy the All-Star game. The Cubs will open next weekend versus the Boston Red Sox. I don't think we're making any picks for that series. We'll miss. Actually, I think the first game is Saturday. I think it's Saturday. It's Friday.
Yeah. Well, I might do a short show Saturday, guys, because
I'm gonna be here Saturday.
All right. I didn't know if you were going to be here or not, but
no, we just got to jump in a little bit earlier next week, 11 a.m.
And then the draft's coming up, so that's something we definitely want to talk about for sure.
Yeah, we got a lot, and don't forget, we'll be back Alice Hall Hangover on Monday. Barely there, breaking down all your fantasy needs on Wednesday and on Thursday. I don't know what they're going to do, but they're going to have some fun with it, I'm sure. So
probably going to just destroy Bears players.
Hey man, 5 innings pitched in Yankee Stadium for the team that hits left-handers the best in baseball. And I agree with that text that they just put up on the screen. Matthew Boyd is him. He's given up 1 hit in 5 innings versus the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. But I don't hear it, guys. I don't want to get too crazy because the Yankees had 1 hit on the game before the Cubs series opened. In the 8th inning, they had 1 hit. They won that baseball game. They scored 5.
Well, yeah, and Sean, something we didn't talk about, but we could talk about it a later day is, it's not just Jordan Wicks got blown. Caleb Thielbar's been amazing this year, and he didn't look too good yesterday either.
Right in the 5th inning.
Yeah. All right, guys. Let's get it. Let's go. Let's everybody enjoy the rest of this Cubs.
Yes. Have a good day, guys.
Yep. Let's hopefully enjoy the Cubs holding on to this victory. And until we see you all, maybe tomorrow, but definitely Monday. We love y'all. Stay safe out there. Cub up, bear down, everybody.
Thants for joining the show today, guys. Our Saturday record, 130 people watching live.
Yeah,
absolutely. We love each and every one of you and greatly appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Everybody in the chat too. We love you. John S. T. Hopefully it's the Cubs and the Tigers.
Everybody.